The US Secretary of State has warned that America could stop trying to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine if there are no signs of progress in the next few days. French diplomats had said talks between the United States, European powers and Ukraine in Paris yesterday made excellent progress. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the talks about a potential ceasefire had been encouraging. Along with envoy Steve Witkoff, he was meeting the French President Emmanuel Macron as well as representatives from other European countries. Before departing from Paris, Marco Rubio said America will decide within days if Ukraine ceasefire is doable.
I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine over the last 3 years, and we want it to end. But it's not our war. I want everyone to understand that. And the reason why I make that point is the president has spent 87 days at the highest level of his government, repeatedly taking efforts to bring this war to an end. We are now reaching a point where we need to decide and determine whether this is even possible or not, which is why we're engaging both sides. As you know, Ambassador Witkoff has had not one, not two, but 3 meetings with Vladimir Putin to determine the Russian perspective on this and understand what it would take for them to end it. We, through General Kellogg, myself, and others, have had repeated engagements with the Ukrainians. So we came here yesterday to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is the war that can be ended. If it can, we're prepared to do whatever we can to facilitate that and make sure that it happens, that it ends in a durable and just way. If it's not possible, if we're so far apart that this is not going to happen, then I think the president's probably at a point where he's going to say, well, we're done.
Well, Marco Rubio's comments come as Ukraine says that it has signed a memorandum of intent on a minerals deal with the United States. The economy minister said the outline agreement paved the way for what she called an economic partnership agreement. Yulia Sviridenko announced the signing on social media, but didn't provide any further details. The move is a step towards a deal that would allow the US access to Ukraine's critical minerals, as well as oil and gas. Previous reports indicated that an investment fund would be set up for Ukraine's reconstruction and would be managed by Kyiv and Washington. President Volodymyr Zelensky had been hoping to use the deal to secure a US security guarantee in his country in the event of a ceasefire deal with Russia. I spoke to our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse, who's in Odessa, starting with those comments from the US Secretary of State over a peace deal.
Yeah, I mean, the standout comments are that he said the president could say he's done. If there are no signs for the US of progress, if it seems that peace can't be achieved, Marco Rubio, has said Donald Trump has other priorities around the world. And it seems that America will stop trying to broker a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia if there aren't any more positive signs. So what does that mean for Ukraine? Well, Ukraine has engaged in America's timetable and vision for peace since a few notable flare-ups early on in Donald Trump's second term. But where America's patience has been tested has been with Russia, which has added more and more conditions to how it would like a ceasefire to be reached, but also how it's maintained its sizable demands, be it the complete control of 4 Ukrainian territories and the political capitulation of Ukraine. To the frustration of Kyiv, that impatience has not been followed up with any kind of condemnation really from Washington, nor further measures such as sanctions. I think it is a faint hope that the comments of Marco Rubio could be an attempt to apply pressure on Moscow. But I think what is more likely as a scenario here is that this could be a perilous moment for Ukraine politically when you consider that no more American military aid is set to arrive, and that Russia, a lack of a ceasefire continues to suit Russia more in this war of attrition where it is the bigger force. And if it's fighting Ukraine with only the help of Europe, then I think you'll see the Kremlin rigorously pursue its goal of trying to take as much Ukrainian territory as possible, as it continues to do today.
So where does this minerals deal fit into this?
Well, if you take the comments of Marco Rubio and then look at this minerals deal, it increasingly looks like more of a commercial arrangement than a meaningful piece of apparatus for peace. Because For Ukraine, yes, this does pave the way for sizable American investment, but it does not have concrete security guarantees where America would step in if a ceasefire is broken in the future. And it seems they have at least bowed to Donald Trump's claim that the mere presence of American companies here would stop Russia from upping its aggression in the future. But that didn't exactly stop it in 2022. But of course, Ukraine does need to recover one day when this war ends. But I think if America is willing to turn its back on ceasefire negotiations whilst agreeing to this mineral framework, if you like, then it poses the question as to whether Donald Trump truly cares whether he's dealing with, for example, a Russian puppet regime here in Ukraine or a sovereign independent country, albeit an embattled one. It really does pose that question, because the consensus, certainly politically, is that without America, Europe and Ukraine will struggle to plug any gap, and that would make any ceasefire all the more fragile. So there's a lot of contradictions going around this morning, but I think it is clear that if America is running out of patience and that it's failed on its self-imposed deadlines of a day to end this war, then 100 days to end this war, clearly it has been frustrated in failing to achieve those goals. And if it does turn its back, it is Ukraine which will feel the full impact of that decision.